Hello everyone, I have a new mic, so I'm going to be using that for this video. I've had this head stored away for quite a while now, so I think it's about time I use it. And I've been planning to use it for Sundrop. I don't have the body, I've ordered that, but it's not here yet, so we're just gonna get started. I first start by, of course, blushing the face. I should probably mention that I'm going for a humanized version of Sundrop, so if you're looking for the robotic version, sorry, but that's not gonna be this video. I blush the face with a simple red, like I've done with almost every other doll that I've done, and then I start painting half of the face white. Technically not quite half, it's going to be in a crescent moon shape. I'm going for sort of a half mask look. After a few layers of white, I decide to switch it up and start painting the scalp yellow. I don't quite know why I decided to do this right now, but that's just how it worked out, I guess. I spread a bit of yellow pastel along the top of the mask near the hairline, just to add some extra color to it. I paint the eye in white, and sort of a jelly bean shape to give it some personality, and then paint it in blue. Technically, Sun's eyes in the game are whited out, but the plushie in-game has blue eyes, so I'm going off that. I do a black outline around everything, including the eye on the other side, which I do leave white, and then paint in the eyebrow yellow. The other one is black, because it's on a mask. I then decide to paint this spot by the mask white, because I wanted to bring in some other colors to the hair besides just yellow. Off camera, I painted some freckles and the face is done. And while I was working on it, the body actually got here. It came with another head, so I just cut off the hair and remove it. I don't know if I'll use this head for Moon, because I was thinking of using a face that had a closed mouth smile, so they contrasted each other a bit, and because I think Sun would have an open mouth smile and not Moon. After cutting off all the hair, I take her head off and then set that head to the side as I'm not using it for this project. I did have to sand down the chest because, Sun does not have boobs. And I used my dad's Dremel tool. Well, actually, I had him use it. That was fun to explain. Anyway, I take some clay and put very, very thin layers over the holes just to cover them up. I didn't want to add any extra layers back on right after they were all sanded off. Color matching is the absolute worst. I don't know if I got it quite right. I really don't like color matching, especially when it comes to skin tones. But luckily for me, you don't see this because it's all covered up by clothing anyway. Very, very carefully, I put the head back on, trying not to crack the sealant on the face. Then I take some triangle cutouts from foam and paint them yellow as Sun's rays. I thought about making these rays detachable from Sun's head, like putting them on a headband, but I figured that would be way more effort than it was worth and just hot glued them on. I was as I could have been when I was measuring these so that I would be able to fit all of them onto the head. So it did actually work out pretty good. After initially sticking them all on, I go back and strengthen it more with more hot glue at the base. And now, of course, this robot needs some hair. I glue on the white wefts first, and I kind of made it in this slanty shape, which at the time I regretted doing, but now that it's actually done, I don't regret it in the slightest. After I glue on the little wispy parts of the white hair, I glue the yellow hair onto the front. I push it right up against the sun rays, and I'm going to flip this over with heat once that's all glued on. I make sure to cover all parts of the scalp in the front, since that's what's going to be seen the most. Moving on to the back, I first glued around the edges, like around the bottom of the hairline and around the rays again, and then just filled in the middle part. And when I say part, I mean that general area. There's no actual part to it. I use a heated up butter knife to stick these down, and I just heated up the butter knife with a hair straightener, and I remembered to wear gloves for this, because I didn't want to accidentally burn myself. Off camera, I give Sun a trim and styling, and then he looks like this. A little bit of a swoop in the front and much more spiky in the back. Before I start on the clothes, I figure Sun's nails could also need with some sprucing up. So I first paint a layer of white on, and then in the exact same way, I paint on a layer of yellow. Now, I used Claudia's body, and if you don't know, she's from the Monster High line, and she has a bigger sister body type, which means her shoe size is much larger than even Rainbow High dolls. So I'm going to need to fix that. And at first, I thought I could use clay to fix it. So I cut off the straps here, then build up the rest of the heel with clay. I don't end up keeping this, by the way. But if you do end up doing this, this is technically a viable solution, I just didn't like how it looked. I put saran wrap around the leg of the doll. This will be so I can stick the clay onto the leg and take it off without any of the clay actually sticking straight onto the leg. I build up the clay first around the heel, then building up more around the heel of the shoe, not of the foot. I ended up fabricking the first shoe as practice, but I didn't like how bulky it looked, which is all from the clay, so I ended up just ripping it straight off and then gluing the fabric onto the shoe and just bulking it out with the fabric. I've never actually done it this way before, so I was a little nervous, but it did work out in the end. I first glued the shoe all the way glued the shoe. Yes, I did glue the shoe, but I glued the fabric to the shoe all the way around in a cylinder first. Then I needed to shape the fabric onto the shoe. So I cut notches in the top and then hot glued them down. I did the same thing around the heel area, and then once that was done, I sculpted a point onto the top and closed the seam with some fabric paint. After a few layers of fabric paint, I paint the tip of the shoe white, then I paint the whole thing yellow, since the yellow paint I was using was darker than the rest of the shoe. So I figured I would just paint the whole thing to make it uniform. Then I take a darker yellow, which I just mix some orange into, and I paint the crescent moon onto the side. Now, I have these ribbons. They're red and white striped. And first, I put them together, and if you're confused, these are going to be Sun's pants. Yeah, I couldn't find any yellow and red striped anything really, so fabric was out because I couldn't find that either. So ribbon was the best I was going to do. So I just traced the pattern straight onto this fabric with quotation marks, then paint the stripes yellow. I promised myself I would never do this again, but here we are. I treated this as regular fabric. Once the paint dried, I folded it in half and sewed along the outside of the pant leg. Then I did the same thing to the other one and stuck them together at the crotch. When I'm done, there was this little spot that didn't quite reach around, so I made a little panel and just stuck it on there. Honestly, it's better than just having buttless pants. And I tried them on, and for ribbons, those look like pretty good pants. Moving on to the top, I would have originally stuck 2 different colors of fabric together, but I did not feel like doing that for this one. So I used my tunic pattern, yet again, coming in clutch, and just cut it out of the lighter shade of fabric that I have. Coming in with the paint, I first lay down a paper towel, then I paint a red ring around the collar and down the back. Then I separated the shirts where the 2 colors would need to be separated and just started painting the half of it with a darker yellow. This took a while, and that side of the fabric is a bit stiffer. Well, not quite stiff. It's not as flexible, but it is still posable. For both sleeves, though, I gather them up so that they'll fit onto Sun's wrist. I love this tunic pattern because it's so simple. You just take this shape and fold it in half and boom, shirt. You have a shirt now. I got that done. Then I hot glued some ribbons onto the ends of the wrists of the shirt. I originally thought these were ruffles, and I was surprised to see that they're actually not. I guess I just forgot about it. I also got these itty bitty teeny baby bells and hot glued those onto the ribbons. Now the shirt is basically done. I just need to put the buttons on. I don't have red buttons, but I do have these pink buttons that I can paint red, so that's good for now. I painted them, then sealed them, and glued them onto the shirt. I didn't sew them on because I don't think my needle could have even passed through the holes of the buttons, so gluing was just easier. With that, the shirt is done, and I can make the belt. This rectangle is the belt. I just need to attach some snaps onto it and ruffles. The snap was easy, I just sewed it on. For the ruffle, I took a longer piece of fabric and just kind of scrunched it up. I don't really know how else to explain it, but I ruffled it up to make it look like ruffles. And on the left is not ironed, and on the right is ironed. I ironed it down flat to make the ruffles tighter, I guess would be the right word. I also tried to do it on the collar with ribbon, but it didn't work, so I didn't do it. And at this point, Sun is done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Also, Moon isn't going to come immediately after this. See ya!